Well, hey everyone, Mac here along with Tim, Cheryl, and Dolphin to welcome you to our last call of the autumn season in the metal element. It's been a great season for sure, and this is the third of our three calls that we've actually prepared for you all for this particular season. On our previous two calls, the first one was, of course, our general call about metal element, the lungs, the large intestine, and some of the formulas that really help us navigate the season. I mean, things like Conco, Evergreen, Sunny Fresh, Cali, Sunbreeze. And we also had a chance to talk at that point about the benefits of a fall cleanse. And Dolphin, if I remember correctly, that was the call where we had Lorene come in and actually share with us her experience of having gone through a cleanse and what she got out of that. So, for those of you that haven't had a chance to listen to that call, I'll be posting the link again. Encourage you all to go back and do it. The second call we did for this season was all about actually the emotions of the season. In autumn, in traditional Chinese medicine, is about, again, the art of letting go, the reflection and the release. And some of the things we talked about there was vitamin D3, E's, both the formula as well as the oil, Kali Night, etc. And now we just kind of want to finish off with a little bit of autumn fun, some safe travel, and staying healthy as we kind of close out this season. So, with that said, I just want to, again, remind everybody that, for many of us, December is a time of gathering together, celebration of family, charity, hospitality, giving, whatever kind of turns you on during the season for sure. And again, there's a number of things we can do to keep ourselves healthy during this period of time. Certainly, balanced, mindful eating, staying hydrated, planning ahead so we're not stressed and rushing everywhere, doing things in moderation. Not forgetting to be physical during this period. It's important to continue with our exercise, being social, absolutely, getting enough sleep and being flexible in our schedules. So again, we don't drive ourselves nuts. Okay. As usual, we are going to talk a lot about Sunrider foods today. So I want to remind everybody that none of the information provided in this presentation is intended to represent a diagnosis of cure of any illness or disease. And as always, I'm going to go quickly on this one, but for any new people watching this presentation, I just want to share with you all why Sunrider is so important to me, and I think we would all agree with this. Sunrider's been around for close to 44 years now, making this an extremely stable company in this industry. A lot of companies tend to come and go overnight in this particular industry, not Sunrider. They are committed, have been for the last 44 years, and have invested in a brand new manufacturing facility in Texas, which sets us up for the next 40 plus years. One of the things I love most about this business is the fact that it does operate in over 50 countries around the world, allowing each of us that want to the opportunity to have an international business, which is something I certainly love. Coming from a manufacturing background myself, one of the things that impressed me so much about Sunrider when I first discovered this company was the fact that Sunrider internally handles all the research, development, and manufacturing of his foods. Now, that may not sound like a big deal to folks, but believe me, most companies in this industry will hand their recipe to a third-party manufacturer and say, make my formula for me, not Sunrider. Again, we internally handle 100% of all of the research, development, and manufacturing over what I feel are 400 or plus of the best health and beauty products in the world. Everything from whole food nutritional foods to cleansing beverages to weight management to sports and fitness to green household and are all natural skincare and cosmetics. So again, an incredible opportunity, folks. If this is your first time looking at Sunrider, we're so happy you're here joining us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl now, and she's going to share with us what truly makes Sunrider so unique, which is our philosophy of regeneration. Cheryl, on to you.
Thank you so much, Mac. The philosophy of regeneration reflects the core concepts of Dr. Chen's knowledge, beliefs, and the blueprint behind every Sunrider product. And the products are based on a simple yet powerful idea that blends traditional Chinese medicine with advanced Western science. And there's four guiding principles to the philosophy of regeneration. Number one, we need to nourish and cleanse our body in order to have balance. And Sunrider products nourish the yin and cleanse the yang, your body's five systems to promote balance for optimal health and energy. And number two, we need clean foods, not chemicals. Our bodies are made with nutrient-rich whole foods and herbs, not synthetic, artificial, or highly processed ingredients. And number three, we need a variety. There's no perfect food or ingredient. Too much of anything can put our body out of balance. Our products give a vital variety of wholesome ingredients. And number four, and which is really important to me, and I love the fact that our owners are all experts, that while most companies outsource their manufacturing, like Mac was speaking to before, we control every aspect from personally ensuring potency, purity, integrity, and safety. Our products are safe and effective for every member of the family. And like you, Mac, I love our philosophy of regeneration. And that's what hooked me when I first was introduced to Sunrider. So thank you so much, and back to you.
Right on, great. Cheryl, one of the things that we decided we were going to chat about this particular call was trying to stay healthy during times of winter travel, which I know a lot of people get on the road, busiest travel times of the year, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess I'm thankful I'm not going anywhere this year, so I'm pleased with that. But for those that do have to be out there amongst the populace, et cetera, there's a few things that we can do to really take care of ourselves. And Cheryl, I know your Tim travels a lot internationally, just like I do as well. And would you share just for a second about what some of Tim's favorite travel products are? I mean, we picked four here to talk about just very briefly, but heck, we could have picked 50. So tell us what Tim likes to travel with.
Well, he likes all four of those. Plus, he also likes Alpha 20C.
Yep.
And the quinary for me and for Tim is extremely important, right? Because it is based on the philosophy of regeneration and feeding the five major
Mhm.
systems of our body, right?
Yep.
So the quinary and the Alpha 20C is one of the formulas in the quinary. And so when Tim travels, I know, like me, he uses the fruit and vegetable rinse and washes everything down.
Yep.
What I mean? You don't know what was there before you.
Uh-uh.
And then he has at least 3 to 5 packages of Alpha 20C and quinary, and he doesn't have jet lag.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. And
Yes.
Sunbreeze he puts under his nose like I do. And
Uh-huh.
throughout the flight, he sprays the Vitataste. So he
Right
uses
on.
all of these products. But for me, quinary is number one because
Yeah.
what it covers. And what about
Absolutely.
you, Mac?
It's funny you mentioned Tim washing everything down. I'm very similar with my fruit and vegetable rinse. And what I find too is a lot of times I won't stay in a traditional hotel when I travel international. I'll stay in one of the service apartments, if you will, and I'll do some of my own cooking. And it allows me to go to the store and buy some fruits and vegetables. So I always like to travel with the fruit and vegetable rinse just so I can make sure I'm cleaning off any of those impurities that I'm getting on there. And as well as all the countertops, the sinks, the mirrors, you name it, that are in the hotel room for sure. The Sunbreeze oil is just something I like to have with me all the time because it does it allows me to breathe. And Tim, we've talked about breathing so much in some of our past calls, anything we can do to open up our sinuses to keep our lungs flowing and so forth. I mean, I love the Sunbreeze, and I've also found it to be a great way to actually introduce people on the flight because they'll see me putting the oil in my hands and breathing it. There you go with the balm, Tim. And it does actually cause people to say, well, what is that wonderful aroma? Which again is just one way we can begin to share what we're doing. Quinary without exception. And I'm a lot like Tim Cheryl. I travel with both Quinary and Alpha 20C. Those are daily go-tos for me here as well as traveling. And Vitaspray, I just love Vitaspray because I've always found Vitaspray to really help control the cortisol level, which results in reduced anxiety, irritability, and stress, making us feel calm and balanced. One of our favorite words, right, is balance. And that's why Vitaspray is always with me whenever I travel, or as I'm about to jump on a call like this, because it truly does calm the system down. So I love this stuff. And again, those are over and above the energy and the mental focus it provides. And you guys know this already, but there's also another benefit, which is the hair, skin, and nails, which is what B12 helps with as well. So those are my favorite travel things. And I guess with that said, Finn, Tim, I want to turn this over to you to talk to us a little bit about some of the emotions and some of the other things going on right now with the season.
Thanks, Mac. Thanks, Cheryl. So we have been talking about the emotional correlation with each element, and metal or autumn is grief and sadness, and sometimes that gets overlooked over the holiday season. It's a fun and festive time. But I know firsthand when I was a young university student and had to leave home to go to school, and I couldn't afford to come home for a few Christmases. And I really felt the impact of that in a way that, other times a year it didn't really bother me, but Christmas or Hanukkah or, this time of year when it's so family oriented and you can't, when you're in a place where maybe you can't be with your family, you're at a distance, or maybe you've lost a loved one around this, and this time just brings up that grief or that sadness. Um, it's I just want to acknowledge that, and Tim and I are maybe going to give just a few tools that can help alleviate or help us through that time. So for me, I found, again, this was back when there wasn't Zoom for sure. I think it's a lot easier this day and age where even if you are at a distance, you can jump on a video and connect with people, which is such a blessing. But back then, I, um, I made a point of, well, the first time it happened, I really just got very depressed and lonely, and I didn't really have a plan because I didn't really think it would affect me so deeply. But then I learned from that and had a plan. So, I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have some of my favorite foods and make myself a really nice meal. So I just feel like I'm, just having something special. I I used to work as a teenager. I worked in the movie theater and I could never understand why movie theaters were open Christmas Day. I thought it was crazy. Like, why shouldn't they close down? But then I got it because I actually went to a movie on Christmas Day for one of my Christmases because it gave me something to do. It distracted me for a few hours where I could just go and just immerse myself in a movie, and it really helped. It just helped me, kind of get over my, feeling sorry for myself or focused on what I was missing out on. So, and then coming home, I realized because I'd had that experience, I wanted to make sure that other people didn't have that experience. So maybe you have friends or people that don't have family that they can connect with. Maybe you invite them to your family gathering. And so I've done that for some of my lonely souls over Christmas time. Either their family doesn't celebrate Christmas or they couldn't be with their family, so I invited them to my to our gatherings, and that made a huge difference as well. So those are just some tips of for us to be mindful of, not just for ourselves but for others, that this can be a challenging time, a sad time, or a lonely time for us, during this holiday time. And Tim, you and I, we have to deal with people's emotions in our work and things like that, and even in ourselves. You and I were having a good conversation about just some kind of feeling the challenges of just the cold and not feeling great, and so you're the master of breath. And so I ask you, like, what would you say to a client that's just feeling the that sad or lonely aspects of this season?
Such a great question, and something we can all be conscious of. Part of it is being aware. It's the first awareness is to know that you're off, and like you gave some solutions. Of course, it's always good to reach out. Just chat with somebody. Somebody you can just listen. They don't even need to solve your problems or anything like that. Just somebody to listen with and to be with. That makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it is all about community, and community can make such a difference. So for those people who think they shouldn't reach out, reach out. it's okay to do that. And for the people who love you, they'll say, "Why didn't you call me?" And, "Oh, geez, get on there and let's have a conversation." So we're going to get back to breath. Yes, Matt, we're going to talk a little more about breathing. But once you realize you're off, you can get back into go deep into your dual toolkit. Or actually, it's right on the surface, not so deep, and come back to your breath. And the way we like to look at it in martial arts is that defining breath is love. Okay, like without your next breath, you don't last long. Okay, so how am I breathing? Am I breathing shallowly? And usually when we're distressed or depressed, we do tend to breathe shallow, myself included. And I need to wake up and come back to, as I've mentioned in the past, is come back to having a full clearing exhale. Clear, 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 clear. And when you clear really well and actually empty a little more than you do it normally, you actually create a vacuum and actually create more volume for more oxygen to go in and to create a better cycle of regeneration. I mean, every single breath is helping us continue that whole cycle. And not to mention, it's going to help stimulate the neurochemicals from your hypothalamus to get you better. As soon as you breathe and think of anything to be grateful for, even grateful that you're hurting so that you know to take action. And so breath, the exhale is kind of like thank you, and the inhale is like the universe saying you're welcome. You're welcome here. That's why you breathe. Okay, breath is love. And to take it to a deeper definition, so full exhales, yeah, big inhale, and each one of those, hold it for a little bit on the top and the bottom for a second or two, and keep your throat open while you're breathing. And again, it can help you be your own best physician. And that's just a simple little tip. But I mean, there's all kinds of little things. I mean, of course, I look for empowering things. I'm just going to throw this in here right now. And one of the guys I'd like to follow is his name, and he's on Navajo traditional teachings. You can find him on YouTube, Chief Wally Brown. And Chief Wally Brown talks about some of the native tradition, and it correlates so closely. That's why I love doing it. And he's such a good guy. And one of the things they mention as part of their tradition is to walk the beauty way. And does that not sound like Sunrider to you? Like, it's walk the beauty way, looking for beauty, making it habitual. And when you look for something, you'll tend to find it. So if you're really bummed, really depressed, and you're thinking about depressive things, well, you're going to probably find more depressive things. But when you're habitually looking for the good, and you found yourself interrupting your distress pattern, from that comes with grief in this season, it's a lot easier to bring yourself back to being grounded and feeling internally nurtured. And I mean, really, it's a great skill. And one of the things that Sunrider really is a wonderful compliment for is to be a catalyst to that skill. Self-nurturing. It's one of the most powerful skills we can adhere to. So that's a couple of little things that I tell my clients. If I try to shorten that up a little bit, but sometimes it tends to spill over to half an hour because it's so much fun. Any solutions you might have that you share with your clients, Finn?
I think you nailed it, brother. That was amazing. I loved everything you just said. And then, like you say, like now that you start with the breath, you start with the mind, and then we move into the nutrition, right? How can we nourish ourselves and nourish our mind? And I know we're going to talk about now a couple of products that are very helpful for this time of the year as well, because sugar is such a focal point for all the treats and I make healthy stuff, but there's certain recipes at this season I don't mess with. They were my grandma's recipes, my mom's recipes, and they need to stay as is. But Tim, I know you also like to doctor things up, and our sun care, our sun nectar is great for that. So tell us about that.
We're going to talk a little bit about, we have the most wonderful alternative sweetener, and it's not just an alternative sweetener, it's actually great nourishment. And I love the idea that some of the research that shows that stevia actually nourishes the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are keenly responsible for helping you lower your blood sugar levels by sending a message to the liver, and the liver either releases or stops the release of glycogen, which either raises or lowers our blood sugar levels, so that we can have really healthy soulful, whole cell firings, and that's what's happening every time. There's two different types of stevia that we have, and we have Sun Nectar original, and then we have the lighter variety. And I don't know what I'm guessing we call it. What do we call it here in Canada? I think we call it Sun Nectar. We call it Sun Care, but we call the lighter one Sun Nectar, I think, or is
Sunny
it still
Dew.
Sun?
Sunny Dew.
Thank you. It's Sunny.
Or Suncare Plus.
And it's
there you
Sun
go.
Care Plus is what we call it in Canada. That's right. I just go with traditional all the time, so I don't think about anything else. Bring on the full, give me the full strength is how I kind of look at it, and I have for years and years. But they just built for the Sun Care Plus. They just filter out a little of this of some of the more solid like material, and it's just a little lighter. It's just as good and it's still a whole food product. But for those people who don't like the full flavor, you have an alternative. But I like to have both. And personally, when we were out of Sun Nectar or Sun Dew, Sun Care Plus, I noticed my attitude, because I use it so much to replace sugar in my life, and all of a sudden sugar started creeping in here and there, and all of a sudden I didn't, and I was also noticing my irritability, like what the heck's going on here? Anyway, I'm so grateful to have it back, because now I'm feeling my blood sugars at a more neutral level, and it's just a wonder. And I like using it for baking, for example. And Finn, you mentioned that you have to keep those traditional recipes the same. Well, sometimes you need to have, let's say, something to rise, where you need to have sugar, a little bit of sugar to have that physical,
like the chemical reaction.
The chemical reaction. Thank you for pulling that out for me. We need that chemical reaction, but you can still reduce the amount of sugar. And A, you can reduce the amount of sugar. B, you can use a higher quality sugar that's actually a whole food form, like maple syrup or honey or unrefined cane sugar, for sure. I mean, it's not the best, but it's still better than having a refined sugar. And then, so what I might do is reduce the recipe to a quarter of the amount of sugar required, and then Sun Care measures to about 60 drops to a cup of sugar. So you can kind of measure that way. So you still get the physical reaction that you need, and you still have, and it still tastes great, and you really cannot tell the difference. It's wonderful. But for some of those really traditional recipes, I wouldn't change a thing either, because that's why we have Callie and Sun Care to just swallow that back and make it and enjoy that lovely traditional recipe to its fullest, and walk away unscathed.
There you go.
All right, fine. We have a little something else that you were going to talk about, I think.
Yeah. So, well, and like you say, we have some incredible products to help counterbalance all of the, some of the indulgences that we may experience. VitaTaste, of course, is such a brilliant formula. I know we've talked about it in the past, but quickly, just so for the new people, it is an herbal formula that engages the cell receptors, the sugar receptors on our cells. So when we take the VitaTaste, 15, 20, 25 minutes before we eat anything sugar, including alcohol, it doesn't get absorbed into the bloodstream. So it just can pass through the body and be eliminated. So you don't get those blood sugar spikes. You don't get that extra fluff that sugar can pack on, as far as pounds. And it really does over time really decrease your desire for sugar, to be quite honest, especially that refined type sugar. And so I absolutely love VitaTaste. I also find that sugar really can cause more inflammation in the tissue, especially in the muscle tissue. So for those of you that have inflammation, arthritis, things like that, VitaTaste can definitely help reduce that inflammatory response if you find yourself eating too much sugar or too many carbs, things like that. So it is such an amazing product and food that I'm so grateful that we have.
Me too. Me too.
Yes.
Thanks,
too.
you guys. That was
Yeah,
really good.
likewise.
Hey, before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to ask you, you talked about some of those recipes that we just don't want to ever change, right? I know for our family, My mom, my grandmother, her mom and grandmother, they always made a thing called a jam cake. And again, it requires a lot of sugar. There's jam obviously involved and all that kind of stuff in the baking too. But that's the one in our house. Is there one, Finn, in your house that you just can't change anything for?
That would be my mom's butter tart
Oh, there
Yeah.
recipe.
you go.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we all have one of those recipes where we're just not going to mess with it, you know.
But I have to say, it's even more fun for me that where I have changed the recipe, like
Uh-huh.
and used Sunrider foods and it's really fun to experiment and discover that wow, this is as good or better now.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to
No.
kind of play with recipes.
Exactly. Good point. Good point. We're going to talk a little bit now about the large intestine, which again is the other main organ associated with the season. And it's looked upon as being the fountain of youth. And again, we've just picked four products that can kind of help us through this transition period, if you will, between seasons, where it is so important to continue to support our large intestine with earth element formulas that really do us good. And um, Tim, I think it's back to you, isn't it, for number one
I
here?
believe it is,
I
yes.
believe it is.
And it's kind of a perfect introduction because we're going through this change of season to winter right away. And then the one thing that gets activated is the earth element is on alert every time we go through a change of seasons. And Fibertone is a wonderful complement of that time, and all through the season actually, but particularly through the earth element time, that 1 week to 1 week before to 1 week after the seasonal change. In this case, as of the 21st. And on Sun Fibertone is it's such a wonderful product. I just want to say a few things about it. I got jotted down here. Such a wonderful combination of herbs, including psyllium fiber, which aids the body in, of course, cleaning the digestive system. Small intestine to that mild degree, but more so for the large intestine. And one of the things that the large intestine has, as I've mentioned in other calls, I think, is that the large intestine has little pockets. And the activity of peristalsis, or the peristaltic or the natural contractive motions of the body to move food along. Well, what happens is those little pockets get ram jammed with a lot of food that might not have been cleared out in the past, and then it tends to build up over time. And then what happens? There's just no squeezy action going on in there. What Fibertone does is really helps to get in and in conjunction with the body to help that peristalsis come back to a normal flow again. And for those people who are getting started, it's the main ingredient, not the main ingredient, but one of the main ingredients is psyllium fiber. And psyllium fiber, if you have it on its own, it could be a little dangerous because it tends to create some nausea. And that's usually just because of a little bit of an imbalance in our digestive system. Well, the same thing can happen with our Fibertone as well. And I remember hearing stories from the past, but they refined it that much better, and really I don't hear anybody talking about that. Maybe if you had a few too many capsules at one time might do it, but just my magic number for Fibertone is, like, I like to have one or two if maybe if I went out and had that big meal or something like that, the next morning I'll be having Fibertone for sure, or have it tonight before I go to bed. But my magic number is two. Fibertone is a wonderful product, and I mean, in conjunction with the rest. And I'm going to pass that right on to, I believe it's Finn going to. Hang on, yeah, Cheryl to AD, which is a wonderful compliment to Fibertone.
Thank you so much, Tim. And yes, I am going to speak to Assimilate. And you are so right, Tim. In Canada, it's called AD. Anyway, it is one of the formulas of our quinine that nourishes our digestive system. And it's one of my favorites. When I started Sunrider so many years ago, my digestive system was really a problem. And the naturopath told me not just eat my quinine, but take the assimilator AD, open a couple of capsules and drink it in my Cali before meals. And I did because it helps with digestion of food. It helps it digest more quickly and efficiently, and it makes your digestive system feel more comfortable. And it's loaded with antioxidants, so it's very good for the immune system too. I travel with it. I have my nieces and nephews. whenever they have a problem with their stomach, it's like, could we have Cali ADT? Because they know what's going to happen. They're going to feel way better. So anyway, Simulate and AD, great product to have on hand any season, and especially now. So thank you so much. And I'm passing it over to Finn because she's going to tell us some more wonderful things.
Well, Vitadophilus is a great combination with those first two products, of course, and it is our uh, pre and probiotic that helps nourish the small and the large intestine. We have to have that friendly bacteria for proper digestion. And so the apopectin, which protects and surrounds the probiotic, the lactobacillus, protects it. It gives it something to eat once it gets into the intestines. And so what's wonderful is that it actually protects it against the stomach acid, so it actually will go into the intestines. It doesn't have to be refrigerated, which again is wonderful for traveling and just don't have to worry about, is it dead? Is it alive? Did I keep it in the fridge long enough? All that kind of, you don't have to worry about any of that. It tastes delicious, and I recommend you just take it straight out of the package. Don't mix it with water, just take it dry, straight out of the package, wash it down with some water. And I particularly like taking it right before bed and sometimes then right first thing in the morning, depending on, how I'm feeling. And then it's also another one that's helpful after, you've eaten a lot. Just to help soothe the tummy it also is soothing. And just tying it back into the emotions there's a lot of research done in just the overall health of guts versus and how it correlates with how it helps us feel in our body and just feeling just more upliftment, feeling better. And so yeah, so it can help with our mental health as well, just by making sure that that the stomach and the intestines, which is our second brain, with that vagus nerve in there, that it's getting soothed and nourished as well. So love, love, love the Vitadophilus. And then, of course, the most ancient and original formula that we have, Mac, you're going to talk about that one.
I will, and thank you. New Plus, a favorite of so many of us for sure. And Finn, I probably should have allowed you to do New Plus because you've covered this so well on other calls for us, but I'll do my best. And it's funny about New Plus. We've talked about this 100 times, but I'll say it one more. Um, Always get asked, stranded on a desert island, what's that one Sunrider food you couldn't live without? It's always been New Plus for me. And I mean, we all have our favorite flavors, but New Plus itself is just something that's so wonderful that I just can't imagine going without it. And I know it is an everyday thing for me. In fact, well, Joey would tell you every morning, my morning starts with 2 packages of New Plus, a package of Alpha 20 and a package of Quinary. The quinary goes in one, the alpha goes in the other. I'm right out of the bag kind of guy, okay, with some Cali Fortune Light. And that's my beginning of my day every single day. And, I know this sounds silly because it's not scientific and it's not ingredient oriented or anything, but it just makes me feel good. It really calms everything in my body. And it's such a
Every time.
wonderful way to start the day. Now, it is funny about ingredients. I've had, a couple of interesting exercises over the last couple of years going into Chinese markets in particular and looking for some of the key ingredients that make up New Plus. And in particular, I was in Budapest a couple of years ago when we went to a big Chinese market there and we really had a lot of fun. And I actually recorded a video, maybe I'll share that again on the Five Element site, where we were looking at these things like Chinese yam and lotus root and kind of talking a little bit right there in the market about the benefit that these things provide. And that is so true. I mean, one of the most important ingredients I think in terms of New Plus is the Chinese yam, which helps regulate blood sugar. It offers immune system support because it's so high in vitamin C. It has antioxidant properties which reduce inflammation and protect against chronic disease. And it's beneficial for women's health too, because it really has a great impact on eliminating hot flashes, night sweats, and mood swings. It also has high fiber, so it's wonderful for our gut and our heart as well. So this truly is an incredible ingredient. One of the other ones I'll focus on just very quickly is the lotus root and seeds, which are rich in nutrients. They support the immune and digestive system. They have anti-inflammatory properties, and they've been shown to help with weight management, heart and brain health, and even help to reduce stress. So again, the combination of the Chinese yam, the lotus root, foxnut, and of course our soy protein, which is again, it had 9 essential amino acids, omega-3s. Again, what a combination of ingredients New Plus offers us. And again, I know all of this put together, one of the reasons why it feels so good in my body, why I love it so much, and why we promote this around the world to people, because it truly is an incredible food. With that said, I just kind of like to kind of move the call along and bring it to a bit of a close here. But, you know, it is interesting thinking back of the things that we've all spoken about on this call and our previous calls on this particular topic. I mean, autumn, of course, is the season of the lungs, which we spoke about. And Tim, I just got to go back. I mean, I love some of the things you talked about, breath. I mean, being love, and that I can picture that walk and looking for beauty in everything that we come in contact with. I mean, just wonderful stuff. So, I mean, again, what are the lungs? It's taking in what's pure, and the large intestines letting go of what's not needed any longer. You know, together they really form this powerful cycle of receiving and releasing, helping us to process not only physical waste, but also unresolved grief, expectations, and old versions of ourselves. Finn, Tim, what you guys were talking about a little bit ago. So again, it's incredible stuff. And I guess as we kind of close down metal in the autumn season, I posted about this a week or so ago, and I'll repeat it again in a post. But I would ask us all to kind of consider pausing and asking ourselves 3 questions. Number 1, what did I let go of this autumn? Number 2, what grew clearer for me during this season? And number 3, what ended up being most valuable than I even realized? And I mean, I've had a chance to look at these questions. I've thought about them a lot over the last number of weeks. And for me, what did I let go of? I continue to work on letting go of fear. Okay, that's a big one. All right. I want to really work on letting go of fear. What grew clearer for me? My intentions. Okay, what I want to be able to accomplish in this next year going forward. And what ended up being more valuable than I realized was my faith and all of that I can make this happen. So again, folks, I would just ask you to kind of think about all of this. I'll post again. You can see it again and all that. And I just want to share with you too that we have so many cool things coming up for the winter. You know, as we explore the water element and this year, leaving the wood snake in Chinese astrological aspects, but coming into this new year in February of the fire horse. So we've got so much we want to be sharing with you guys over the next few months. It's an exciting time. And again, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Dolphin, for joining me and everybody that's listened to what we've had to say. We so enjoy coming to you and talking to you about these topics, and hope you guys get value out of these, as we certainly do. So with that, let me stop the share, and we'll just any last comments for anybody to close out this call, ladies, gentlemen?
I wanted to just say, be sure to be on the call tomorrow night because Finn's going to be on. It's going to be so much fun with giveaways.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be cool. I'll try to get this call posted in the morning, so it's actually going to be that night. Okay. Yeah, Finn, we are looking
There'll be a
forward to seeing you.
recording.
Yes, exactly. Anything else, you guys?
Oh, just wishing everyone a real happy holiday season and thanks to this group. I love what we create together.
Absolutely.
Likewise. Honor and privilege. Share with
Yeah.
you.
It's so great to be on this with you guys. And again, to our audience out there, thank you guys for taking the time to listen. Again, we hope we provide value to you. And if there's ever any topics that you'd like to hear us cover, please let us know. Otherwise, we're going to keep bringing you what we know is important. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much.